All right, so the Spurs take on the Wizards after the break. Finally back. Felt like forever. The All-Star break, especially when your players don't play, but we had a player play, but especially when they don't play in the All-Star game, which we felt the last few years, it takes forever. But we're finally back. Hopefully we got some rest. Really cool thing, we know some of the team stayed in San Antonio because Lonnie and Keldon made an appearance at the rodeo doing some dancing. Still don't know what song that was because they couldn't play it because of copyright purposes or something. But yeah, team stuck around. So the Spurs take on the Wizards at the Wizards. 3 games left in the rodeo road trip. Spurs should be feeling pretty good coming off of that 3-1 stretch to finish off the first portion of the season in which Devin Vassell took over the starting shooting guard reins after Derek got dealt to Boston. So hopefully there's some carryover there. It's been a long break, but hopefully the team can keep that hot streak going. And let's just see what that starting 5 can do. But as far as Washington, they've had an up and down season. If you look at their record, it's a lot of just sprinkled wins, losses. They're a little bit above 500, but they started the year really hot. I'm sorry, they're a little bit below 500. But they started the year really hot, and a lot of their success came early. And then the chemistry problems came into play. I don't think Dinwiddie and Brad Beal ever really gelled together. But they dealt Dinwiddie with Bertans to Dallas, and they got Kristaps, Porzingis. But as is tradition with Porzingis, he's hurt. So we'll see if he plays or not. I think right now he's questionable. This says out, but if you read the blurb, he is a partial participant in practice on Wednesday, so he's questionable to make his debut on Friday. I'm kind of skeptical that he'll play, but if he does, he's going to give Yak some problems because he stretches the floor and pulls Yak out of the paint. He hits shots against the Spurs. It seems like every time Dallas was playing the Spurs for the last couple of years and Porzingis was actually playing, that he was hitting. So it'll be interesting to see if he plays or not. It'll also be interesting to see if he plays at the 4 or the 5. Seems like with the modern NBA, he would be a natural 5 just given his length and size. I know he's quick, but I mean, at that length, how quick can you be and can you really guard the 4s? But if they play him at the 4, offensively they might get some advantage because they have Gafford and Thomas Bryant at center who've been sharing minutes. They had Montrezl Harrell. They traded him to Charlotte. So there's a 3-man rotation going on at big there, potentially, once Porzingis gets in there. Lately, it's been the Kyle Kuzma show. He started the year kind of rough, but he's really come into his own over the last 10 games, averaging 19 points, shooting 45%. 37 from 3 is pretty good for him relative to how he was earlier in the year, averaging a block a game, rebounding at a nice clip, getting some assists, a lot of stuff running through him. But what kind of scares me about them matching up with the Spurs is going to be their length on the wing and their athleticism on the wing. They're going to feature Kuzma, Advia, who's been a lot better lately. You know, Denny, the guy a lot of Spurs fans wanted to draft last year. And then Rui Hachimura has finally come back after an extended leave of absence. Those 3 are going to give the Spurs some trouble because you got to match up against them with Keldon, Doug, and Devin. And while they're all formidable defenders, especially Devin, these guys are all big. They're 6'8 plus, 6'9, and they can stretch the floor, they can put the ball on the ground, they can move around. So that's going to be the main matchup of concern in my opinion. Point guard duties are shared by Ish Smith and Raul Neto. I think Neto's been dominating the minutes lately. Let's see over the last 5 games, who's been getting the minutes at point guard. Yeah, it's been Neto. Neto and Smith share the duties, but Neto's been getting most of the time. We'll see how that goes. I don't know much about Neto, but I do know Smith is a great floor general. Doesn't really shoot the ball, but he puts the ball where it needs to go. But yeah, I'm really concerned about the wing. KCP's been scoring decently. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, y'all know him from the Lakers for the last few years. Up and down, streaky role player, but he can make a difference. But yeah, that wing is what I'm really looking out for. They are kind of in the same boat as the Spurs in terms of standings. They're on the outside looking in on the play-in, but they're only a game out. So, yes, they're probably tanking. You would say they're tanking, but as I've said before, I don't think tanking means you're going out and throwing games. I just think it means the roster is structured such that it's not going to be a top seed or maybe not even a playoff team, but they can win games. So we'll see what happens in terms of how seriously they take the game, how into it they are, how into winning they are right now, what their chemistry levels are like after all these trades. But they have something to fight for if they want it. So we'll see what happens in that regard. Spurs, obviously, are outside looking in. Same situation, except they're 2 games behind. Funnily enough, they're both the 11th seed. I just noticed that. But, the Spurs are full of the young guys they want. And if the last 4 games are any evidence, they're pushing forward and not looking back. They're trying to win games. So we know what the Spurs are playing for. We've heard DeJounte. We've heard Devin. We've heard them say that they don't want to miss the playoffs, and this is what they're trying to do. So this is how it looks right now. Portland, LA, right in front of the Spurs. Be interesting to see how the Lakers drop with AD remaining out, because the Spurs have their pick, and the Spurs are contending with them for the play-in. So a lot of juicy things could happen. Spurs could play the Lakers in the play-in. Spurs could knock the Lakers back by beating them in the play-in. Actually, I don't know. Does the draft order get picked before the play-in or after? Probably before. So I think ideally the Lakers end 10th and the Spurs knock them out in the play-in. That would just be a delicious scenario. Because that second round pick could turn into like the 30-somethingth pick if they drop low enough. But that's for later in the season. But it's something to keep an eye on. Let's look at the other games around the league that are of importance to the Spurs. So, the Blazers. I mean, they're not that good, but they have a record that they could keep up if they go 500 ball, and the Spurs would have to play above 500. And we know the Spurs have rough times ahead. And I also know the Blazers have one of the easiest schedules left in the NBA. So the Blazers are 2 games ahead of the Spurs. That's going to be a gap that the Spurs are going to figure out how to close. The Spurs do play the Blazers 3 times for the rest of the year. And one of those is on a back-to-back. So back-to-back versus them on 2 consecutive games, which, as I said, is hard to win. But Warriors-Blazers, at Blazers. We're going to be going for the Warriors this game, guys. Nuggets-Kings. Kings are right behind. Let's see, the Pelicans, do they play on Wednesday? Okay, so those were the Thursday games. Those are the games that are the day before the Spurs play. My mistake. So if you're watching this and you're catching this video before Friday, those are the 2 games you're looking for tonight. Then on Friday, when the Spurs finally play, we have to wait an extra day because we're the Spurs and they make us do that. We are going to be paying attention to, Pelicans at Suns. How are the Suns going to look without Chris Paul? And Campaign's not even playing yet, and he's the one that's going to be taking up most of those minutes from Chris. So how are the Suns going to look with... I mean, it's really weird because they don't even have their backup point guard, and we know Chris Paul's out probably for the rest of the regular season. So good chance for the Pelicans to maybe have a chance to lose because... Sorry, that was horribly phrased. A good chance for the Suns to win because they're still at home. Pelicans are still weird. Brandon Ingram hasn't really found his stride since CJ's gotten in there. He's had some down games, although CJ McCollum's been tearing it up. But we'll be looking at the Suns to follow suit at home. The Suns have locked in pretty much a top 2 seed, probably the 1st seed. So whenever the Suns play, and it's a team that's even close to where the Spurs are in standings, go for the Suns. Mavericks, kind of ahead of the Spurs, but they're taking on the Jazz at home. They could lose that one. Lakers, Clippers. Clippers somehow keep winning games. They're just under 500. I don't know how they're doing it. It's a team of role players. Like veteran role players, but role players. So let's see how that can go in the Crypto.com arena. Feels weird to say that. So we're going for the Lakers to lose for multiple reasons. Lakers lose, Spurs win. Like, that's the name of the game. So those are just some games you're going to want to keep an eye on around the league. And like I said, we're looking out for the kind of the wing matchups. Devin, Doug, Keldon versus Denny, Rui Hachimura, and Kyle Kuzma. That's what I'm looking for this game. I think DeJounte has a chance to have a big game versus those smaller point guards. We'll see if Porzingis plays. We'll see how their big man rotation goes down. Is Porzingis going to play the 4? Is he going to play the 5? Is Gafford going to start? Is Thomas Bryant going to start? They're both serviceable bigs, but Jakob's better than both of them. So we'll see. Go Spurs, go. Catch you on the next.